Well, hello, everyone, and good afternoon. This is Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network, and thank you for tuning in for another Career Tip Tuesday. Makeda is traveling right now, so you got me solo today, just me, but I'm coming with some great tips today. And I want to go ahead and get started and with our 6 tips for today, and also too, I want to make sure that you all know how to access some of our great resources that we have, which I will be sharing at the end. All right, so I did have someone send me an email for our Career Tip Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, and so the question that they asked me specifically was about what are some of the things that they can do to help them get through the climate of what's going on right now. And it sounds, and from what it sounded like in the interview, I mean, in the message they were sending me, that they're having a tough time dealing with things that are happening in the climate right now. And so I wanted to make sure that I went live to respond to some of that today, simply because I think that it might just be more than this person who is dealing with what's going on in the current climate. And I want to make sure that we are taking some time to answer your questions and to just really, help everybody feel okay with what's going on, in today's climate. So I want to start with first by answering this person's question, and I want to give them some tips specifically. So these tips are going to really be around if you are feeling some kind of way with what's going on in today's climate, you're not sure about what's going on at your job. Maybe you feel uneasy. No, you're not being laid off, or you're still working, but you're just not sure about what's going on. I want to give you some tips to kind of think through these things to keep you focused, to keep you balanced, and also to just make you feel okay, if that makes sense. So again, you know the drill. When you are on, please let us know where you are tuning in from. We want to know, where you're watching from when you join us for Career Tip Tuesday. And so the first tip I want to give is strengthening your self-awareness. And what I mean by strengthening your self-awareness is that you have to think specifically about understanding what your triggers are, what your frustrations, knowing some of your emotional patterns, and what are some of the things that you need to be aware of that could be impacting how you are dealing with things. You want to be able to make sure that you've got the right skill sets to be more effective in being able to respond to things that could be going on in your, at work. It may not be directly related to you, but it could be also impacting you in a different way. So just making sure that you are strengthening your self-awareness when it comes to those specific things. I've got a couple of notes. If you see me looking down, it's because I want to make sure that when I'm covering these notes, when I'm covering these tips, that I give you the little things I had wrote down for each one, so we can make sure we're covering that. The next one that I want to talk about is setting clear boundaries. I can't talk enough about what setting clear boundaries can do for you overall at your job, period, right? And we're talking about setting boundaries with people, your coworkers, your boss, people who are impacting the work that you do, whether it is you're in a project, maybe it is a coworker, you're in, whatever that looks like. Set clear boundaries. Hi, Katie from Charleston, South Carolina. You want to set clear boundaries. And what I mean by setting clear boundaries is you want to specifically look at making sure that when you're during uncertain times, or when you're in high pressure situations at work, you want to make sure that you're not showing your stress, your frustration, or even if you're experiencing burnout. All those things can erode who you are, and sometimes if you don't have the capacity to speak up or advocate for yourself, then it just can really get to you. So you want to be clear about, when and how you will be available. Let them know what's on your plate mentally and emotionally. You want to make sure that you are showing up for work, but you also want to make sure that you're not allowing anybody to dump off stuff on you. So you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself, your time, your energy, and preserving your well-being by setting boundaries. Setting boundaries also teaches people how to respect you in the workplace by letting them know how far they can go, whether it's pushing from a workload perspective, or maybe it's from a personality perspective, whatever that looks like. Setting boundaries helps you to let them know how far they can go and setting those expectations. So it's important. So I can't even talk enough about setting boundaries and what that means. There is a saying from one of the coaching sessions. I mean, one of the one of the professional development cohorts that we just completed, and they made a T-shirt for me. I'll wear it on the next Career Tip Tuesday. It was like, can we talk about this with mutual respect and understanding? That's a great way to open up the dialogue, to set boundaries, or to talk about something that could be a little bit more uncomfortable. So again, setting boundaries is important, but it's easy to set boundaries, and it's also easy for them to erode. But in order for you to set boundaries, we're going to go right back to tip number one. You have to strengthen your self-awareness. When you know what your triggers are, what stresses you, what your frustrations are, even if you're recognizing if you're on the brink of burnout, you need to know what your emotional patterns are so you can be aware of how the situations affect you. And that way you can speak up and set boundaries and be clear about that, right? And so I think also too, when we talk about setting boundaries, we should also look at how are we really approaching setting boundaries, right? So what I mean by that is it's okay for you to set boundaries, but don't set boundaries with an attitude, right? It's, and I'm not saying you be unapologetic about who you are, but also set up the conversation for mutual respect and understanding, to where, hey, I have a lot of my workload right now. Is there someone else in our space that can do this for me? Or can do this for you? Or, you know what? I don't have time to go to lunch with you all right now. Thank you for inviting me. But I really, I need a little time alone. And you don't have to give me an explanation. If you don't want to go to lunch, you just don't want to go to lunch. But what I'm saying is that there are ways that you can set those boundaries to where you can still have mutual respect and understanding between each other, and not be offensive with that. Because sometimes if we don't know, or if we're really not aware of our self-awareness or strength of that, because we're stressed out or frustrated, we may come off as snappy. I'm not saying I'm just saying whoever is not dealing with that. So just be mindful about how you set those boundaries and make sure you're doing it with mutual respect and understanding, and they also have that too. So you want to make sure that you're doing it from that perspective. Hi, India. Thank you for joining. All right. So our tip number 3, when it comes to just thinking about being mindful about dealing with what's going on in this climate, because I know it's very tough for some people right now and uncertain too. Lean into your support systems. I can't stress enough that if you have a coworker at work you can trust, or you have friends, someone who understands the work that you do in the industry that you do it in, or even if you have like an industry event, networking event, you go to a sister support circle, making sure that you have individuals that you can lean on. All right. I'm thinking about when you can't go it alone. Number one, let's talk about that. Let's back it up. Let's back it up for just a minute. Number one, you can't go it alone. All right. You may feel like you can go it alone. Some of our individual personalities, we are loners, we're introverts. We don't want to get into all of the things when it comes to connecting with people. But staying connected with your trusted peers, mentors, networks like BCWN, talking through your workplace challenges, the frustrations that you may be having, it helps you to really process things in a healthy way. It does reduce your tension, and it can also reduce your isolation if you are doing these from a place to where you are feeling like you're being heard and seen. And that is important. You may not be, nobody's asking you to be the pick-me person, but it's important for you to know that you need to be heard and you need to be seen in terms of being able to talk through these challenges you're having or frustrations, to help you work through those processes, to help you, one, maybe set clear boundaries, maybe help you strengthen your self-awareness, what we've already talked about. So I think it's important to lean into those support systems a lot when it comes to that. And feel free to ask me any questions. That's what I'm here for. Don't let me run through all 6 of these and you don't have any questions you want to ask. And again, I'm responding actually to an individual who sent me a question via email around, man, I'm having a rough time. What are some things I can do to kind of handle these uncertain times? And I feel a lot of pressure. And so this is what I'm doing, is sharing this with everyone. I feel like, you know what? I did email, I did respond to the individual, but I figured this is to be great to kind of share these tips with everybody. Hi, Lisa. Yes, Lisa says 100 strengths in numbers. Absolutely. So again, we really need to have people that we can talk to. Don't go by yourself. If you're not be part of BCWN, be a part of our community and talk and let that out, because I think it's don't be isolated. It's not good for your mental health if you're isolating yourself. How can you get through this and be strong if you're not allowing yourself to be in a place to where you are where you are really just, here we are, having a camaraderie with people. So please do that. Do it. If nothing else, do it for yourself, girl. Okay. Do it for yourself. All right. Okay. All right. So number 4, or actually number 3. Do I have the right one? I don't think I have the right one. Do I? Yes, I do. All right. I think I had visibility, and actually this is supposed to be different because I don't want to talk about that one just yet. I'm going to change this to what it really should be, which is reframing your setbacks and your reframing setbacks and learning opportunities. And the reason why I think that this is important is specifically because when we talk about setbacks and opportunities, I think sometimes we can be hard on ourselves when we think about what a setback is. A setback could be anything. A setback could be, you missed a deadline and now you have to change, now you have to go in and be accountable for why you didn't meet the deadline. Every challenge, rejection, and misstep, sometimes we have to reframe it as, what did I learn from this? What do I need to do better? So ask yourself this question: what can I learn from this experience that will make me stronger, that will prepare me for next time? And the reason why it's important for you to learn from these lessons is because it's how you get better. So we all make mistakes. We all have to learn from these, learn from the setbacks and the opportunities and experiences, but don't be so afraid because we're in a specific climate that we are not thinking about what, all we're thinking about is the consequences or the repercussions for making a mistake. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of you may work in places where if you make a mistake, it could be critical to, to your employment, because that's how some things are. But then there's other places where you work to where if you do make a mistake, there's accountability and then opportunity to correct the problem. But again, small mistakes, different, but you've done something on a scale that can get you into some hot water. Absolutely everything that we do in terms of a setback, we should always look at it as, what did I learn from this experience? What is this experience teaching me as a leader or a peer or as a colleague, or whatever that looks like. So just reframe the setbacks as learning opportunities. Go harder, go stronger, and just do it that way. That's probably what I would say would be the best thing to think about. All right. So when it comes to our tip number 5, is going to be about prioritizing rest and restoration. Now, I'm going to say something about rest. I know that we've seen a lot of things out there around rest revolution and all the things. I am for it. Me personally, I have taken time in the last couple of months to really focus on my rest. And what I mean by that is going to bed maybe an hour early, sleeping an hour later, right? Instead of getting up at 8, I'm getting up at 9 when if I don't have anything on the schedule that early. And I'm not feeling, and what I'm doing is reframing how I look at rest and not feeling guilty about it, which means that I don't always have to be up at 6 a.m. and on the treadmill or taking a walk or getting a cup of, a cup of tea. So it's, or reading the newspaper or watching the news early in the morning. I'm like, no, I am taking this time to still rest. And so I think what we need to do is reframe how we think about prioritizing our rest and restoration. Or when you feel like you have to be doing something, if it's Saturday morning, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to get up and be out. Or if it's Saturday night that you have to be out somewhere, maybe it is a Netflix and chill evening. So I just started to, in the last couple of months, prioritize my rest and restoration and what that looks like for me. Here's the thing. I don't know about y'all, but me, I can't pour from an empty cup. If I am not giving myself the time to rest and restore, I can't show up for you. I can't show up for BCWN. I can't show up for anybody. I can't even show up for my own family. So again, prioritizing rest and restoration is extremely important. Now, rest is resistance. What I mean by rest is resistance, that it can also be a career strategy. Let's talk about that for a moment. All right. Yes, rest is resistance and it can be a career strategy. All right. So, my thing is incorporate restorative activities into your routine. 10 minutes of mindfulness or intentional lunch breaks recharge your resilient reserves. I was one of those employees that I would always work through lunch. No one told me to work through lunch, but it was like, I was like, I can't stop. I gotta get this done. I want to be out of here by 5, because if I don't, I'm gonna be working till 6. Well, that's a time management problem, right? But again, I started to say, no, I'm taking my hour lunch. No, I'm leaving the building. I'm going to go and eat somewhere. I'll be back. Right. And so again, it's like taking your time when you are supposed to. You even taking 15-minute breaks. Don't look, I don't care if you're a salary employee. Get up from that desk. Go outside, get some air, put your tennis shoes on and walk if it's not too hot. Take those breaks and take that time, because I think if you're not doing that, you are going to get to a point of frustration and burnout, or just do what's right for you, right? If you have, I always say that if you have opportunities to enjoy yourself, take the time to do just that, right? So just think about that. And then just changing up your routine can make a world of difference. And for those of you who, I want to say this to my women who are in a certain age bracket, okay? Certain age bracket. Think about how your rest impacts your body, okay? Think about how rest impacts your body. And you know what? No, I take that back. I'm going to say this to even to our younger whippersnappers too, right? Because when we think about how rest can impact our energy levels in our bodies and how we move, think about what that looks like for you. Some people are like, oh, look, I'm in the bed by 8 o'clock and I'm up by 6. That's good, because that means you got your 8 hours early. But those of you who are night owls, I'm a night owl. Look, I'm like, you know what? I'm used to going to bed at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12:30, sometimes 1, right? And so I'm like, no, I need to scale that back and learn how to not use that time to just catch up on an episode on Netflix, right? Lay down somewhere and go to sleep, or create a bedtime routine that will help you to get to sleep. So I'm spending a little more time on rest and prioritizing rest and restoration, because I don't think we realize how much that if we're not getting the proper rest, it can impact our productivity, how we show up, even our relationships, and how we engage with individuals in the workplace or in our on our teams, our team members, or how we engage with our team members, simply because of how we are showing up. So again, prioritize your rest and restoration is important. It is summertime. It's already went from like 50 degrees outside to 90 something already, but it's still enjoy that. I go out on my deck, like even if it's 90 degrees, I put the umbrella up and I go out there with the book, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sweating, but guess what? It's just nice to be outside. And honestly, kind of like a sauna. I love going to the sauna, probably TMI, but using my going out there 90-degree weather, I can still sweat, and that's my sauna. So I'm just saying, take advantage of the things that you enjoy doing and make time for those things. I think it's so important to prioritize our rest and restoration, and specifically during a time like this where everything is so uncertain, up in the air. We're seeing so much in the media from certain things that can stress us out. Just find time for you. I can't stress that enough. All right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to recap these 5 tips. All right. First one is strengthen your self-awareness. Okay, just go back. I'm going to say it again. Understanding your triggers, your frustrations, what could cause burnout for you, knowing what your emotional patterns are. I think that's so important to understand what those emotional patterns are and what your threshold is when it comes to the workplace, making sure you're clear about what that stuff looks like. All right. Next one is setting clear boundaries, making sure that you are, being clear about how and when you're going to be available, what's on your workload plate, being able to say no to things, because that's important too. Just you don't have to say yes to everything. You can say no to some things and be very strong in your stance in that. Knowing how you can set boundaries. This is going to be good for your mental and emotional health in the workplace. Protect your time and energy. Preserve your well-being. Number 3, reframe your setback and learning opportunities. Learn from your mistakes. Be accountable for those mistakes, but don't allow those things to beat you up. And because we're working in a climate to where things are a little bit shaky and we're not maybe sure about our jobs and we make a mistake and we get upset, be accountable, learn from it, come back harder, come back stronger. And then lean into your support systems. Can't stress this enough. You don't have to go it alone. You got, again, this goes back to you taking time to connect with trusted peers, members, networks like BCWN or other industry networks that you're part of. Talking through these workplace challenges is important if you have them, but go to people who you can trust in confidential spaces to talk about these things. Do not isolate yourself. It's important to make sure that you have a support system. And then number 5 is prioritizing rest and restoration, which is what we just talked about. I think it's hugely important to make sure that we're on that same page with that. And then I want to provide you all with a career smart tip, because we start doing these at the end now. Your career is not just a job. It's your platform, right? This is where you do your work. This is where you share your gifts and talents. So be intentional, be strategic, show up as powerful and as talented as the woman that you are. Every move you can make either builds your visibility or it can take away from it. So I think it's important for you to understand it can build your visibility, or it can, it can build your visibility, it can build your value, it can build your voice. But choose wisely. Choose wisely. I don't know how the heck I got that cut off. Don't know how the heck that got cut off. But yeah, choose your visibility, choose wisely. Just make sure that you're doing it in a way that is important to you and what you do. I can't tell you enough that when it comes to our careers, it's about being strategic. It's about showing value, making sure that you're being advocating and having a voice. And it's not just about, we need our paychecks to pay our bills, but at the end of the day, you have to own it. This is your career. You want your trajectory to be part of where you want it to go, and not leaving it to chance for someone else to design for you. So can't say enough about that. So I hope these tips were helpful. And again, I shared these tips just to make sure that the person who sent me the email around them feeling a certain kind of way about the climate and what they could do, I figured why not share these tips with everybody. So I hope this was helpful to you all. And as always, at the end, I'm going to show you this link. You can use this link to go and download our 6 power moves that every Black woman should know. It is a guide that you can download for free. And I think what I'm going to try to do is take this and let's see if I can put it in the box in the LinkedIn. I'm going to try to see if I can do that right now, if it'll let me get to it and add it to it. And then that way I can go ahead and add it. And that way you all can download these 6 power moves that every Black woman should know. And that way you can have thinking about this from a knowledge perspective. Here it is. Let me know if you all can see that. I'm going to post it. It should have posted. And then, 6 power moves. So it should have already shown. Let me know if you can see it there. It should have shown up. I'm going to check it and see. I can see, hey, Simone and Yolanda and Patricia. I wanted to make sure I acknowledge that you all were here. And if you could just let me know by just typing in yes in the chat box, and let me know that you can see the link to share the six power moves that every Black woman should know. Fantastic. Okay, good. All right. Fantastic. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. All right, good. Go ahead and download that guide, please. And if you have an opportunity, download our, our mobile app and become a part of our community. We have a ton of resources that you can access. And right now, I'm going to share a quick tip and secret. We're redesigning our app, so just be patient with us on that process. But we're going to be going into a new stage of our process with our mobile app, and we're so excited about that. But download the app download the app, be a part of our community, get connected now while we go through our transition to our new platform. We would love to have you be a part of BCWN. And again, download the app. And also, too, one last thing. Again, we are going to be doing another mentor collective in Atlanta in the fall, and there's going to be details about that coming up soon. All right, you all, I just want to share that last thing with you. Makeda will be back with us in 2 weeks. So again, you all have an amazing rest of your work week, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.